Hello, hello, my hey, I got something to say, people. I love you guys. You have been so supportive in the last few months with my new thing. Wait, I don't even know if my next guest, Jen, knows about it. So we're going to have to bring Jen in right away. Jen Yundt Coles, how are you?
Hey, it's so good to be here.
So I'm going to bring you in because I had to thank the people for Prop Up Tuesday. I started this a month ago on LinkedIn because I wanted to highlight people around the world that were making a powerful difference that may not get the props they need, right? I got inundated with people, and you can keep sending me people. So I love it. Every Tuesday, I pick a new name. You never know who it's going to be. Then all week long, we give them their props. It's probably one of my favorite things I do, Jen. I freaking
Oh, that is such a good idea. That was really inspired.
when I had to go to the bathroom at 2:30 in the morning and it came to me like, oh my God, Prop Up Tuesday, names in a jar. So my head has something to say. People have really been supportive, the women around the world and men that support us. And I'm truly grateful. And now Jen is with us. Jen, how are you doing today? What's going on, girl?
I'm doing good. It definitely feels like a Monday because I had such a relaxing weekend. So I'm like, okay, back to the grind.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
So the good news is, I don't even think Jen's aware of this. We used to go live, but now we record it. And this is going to be up on Thursday this week. Just like that, man. There you
Wow, that's a
go.
fast turnaround. Way to go.
All right. Let me tell you a little bit about Jen. Jen is the SIBO coach, a functional medicine and integrative health coach, and a gut brain strategist for high performing women who are done playing small because of bloating, fatigue, and brain fog. Through her signature SIBO and gut health programs, she helps clients ditch cookie cutter protocols and build a body and business that supports peak creativity, energy, and self trust. Jen is known for her bold, you like that, no
Yeah.
BS approach that combines clinical depth and soul led leadership. Ooh, I love that. All right, let's get into it. The one statement Jen wants to tell women around the world and men that support us: your symptoms aren't setbacks, they're signals. Ooh, ooh. Tune in, not out. You already hold the wisdom to lead, create, and thrive. You just need the right environment to unlock it.
Yeah, let's get
Why'd
it.
you pick that? Why'd you pick that, Jen?
Well, what I want to add to that too is, really part of that big statement is to find your inner rebel. Because I have found in my own healing journey, and I know that term is kind of overused these days, but it is true. It's been a roller coaster ride for myself, but also for the women that I see in my practice over the years, really just sort of internalizing that idea of dialing up our inner rebel, right? Where's my creativity? What opportunity am I going to use to push back, especially in the medical world and the conventional medical world? This is what I totally rebel against in my practice and how I live my life. Don't settle. If you're getting that runaround, or this is just all in your head, or here are some antidepressants because I don't know how else to help you. Have you been there? Yeah, push back, find somebody else, keep asking questions. You're always going to be your own best advocate. And in my practice, we don't just talk about gut health, we talk about all the other things that are going on in your life because those things are affecting your health, even if you don't want to recognize it and give it,
Yeah.
the credit that it deserves. And so, really understanding that any type of symptom that you're feeling in your body is information. And so, I really encourage people to pause, to check in with their bodies, to listen to their intuition, to check in with what their body is telling them. Really, that takes the first step, right? Being able to pause and being able to check in because we are such
Yeah.
go getters that
I like to
oftentimes
ignore it. I like to ignore. Go
totally,
ahead.
we
You don't know.
totally ignore.
Yeah.
Yep, we ignore, we push through, we downplay it, and I'm in the stage where I'm moving into perimenopause right now. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, what is this new symptom? So just trying to be aware of these things,
Yeah.
because like I said, they are information. and then propel from that place. So you want to pause first, get the information, and then take action from that to help yourself, whether that's, healing from whatever condition that you might have, but also kind of resetting your mindset so that you can move forward in whatever mission and passion that you're pursuing. Yeah. Does that make sense?
It makes more sense than ever. And this could be like a 5-hour show, but I want to make sure because there's so many ways that we could go with this, but I want to home in on the gut because I know that's your specialty. But wait,
Yeah.
I was cleaning out, like I told you, I have a few kids living here this summer. And guess what was the top book that I found?
I love that book. Your
For
Body
those
Keeps
who aren't
Score.
seeing it, The Body Keeps the Score. Is this freaking awesome?
Yes. Yes. I often will send that to my clients as sort of a halfway mark through our program, just as a gift to kind of keep them going and have that better understanding of, oh my goodness, things that we experience, our environment, our relationships, conversations we have, all these things get stored in our DNA and our cells and definitely affect our ability to focus, sleep, our libido, all the things that we need and want every day to keep us going, going, going. So, yeah, your body definitely keeps score.
All right. So before we get into some of your points, I want to talk about what you mentioned because it does matter, your healing journey, because it's true. So many things that help us, we then take out into the world to help others. It's the same thing with our healing process as a product, oh, you saw a need for it, and then bam, there's going to be other people. So tell me a little bit of why this fascinated you and you chose this path.
Yeah, well, it's such a long story, so I'll try to nutshell it here for you and your audience. But essentially, I think I kind of came into the world a little bit, a little behind. I guess you could say I was a preemie, and I also wasn't breastfed as a young infant. Also, as a toddler, I had many random viruses and infections. I even had shingles when I was 7, so that's really unheard of. So
Yeah.
I kind of started off in this sort of immune response depletion, I guess you could say, just chronic things. And I was also sort of an anxious child, a worrier. I was the older child, also trying to take care of my little brother. I grew
Mm,
up in a military family that was very strict and conservative, and I often felt like I couldn't speak and express what I needed to. Um, you know, no offense to my parents. I know they did the best they could. I think they often felt like I was quote unquote too emotional and didn't know how to handle me in certain ways.
yeah.
But I eventually learned how to bottle that all up and keep it inside. And that started taking its toll once I was in my teenage years and early 20s, having lots of digestive symptoms. I was always the kid in the nurse's office, asking for the heating pad because I always had a stomach ache. Of course, I know now that worrying and anxiety is a indirect conversation and communication with your gut and vice versa through the vagus nerve. Mostly it's your gut informing your brain of what your status and your safety is, which is really interesting. I could talk about that all day, but I'll just keep going. um, once I got married, just having that sort of other person in the house and that energetics, that affected my bowels as well. Then
Mhm.
I had my babies back to back, which threw me into sort of an autoimmune kind of dysfunction. And I was in a car accident. I sought out alternative medicine at that point to help me address some of my chronic pain issues
Okay.
because I wanted an alternative approach. So that kind of gave me my first taste of looking outside of the box. And so, just generally speaking, over the years, several decades of still trying to figure out gut issues, um, stressful relationships. I am a serial entrepreneur. I've had several businesses in my lifetime and definitely kept living in that go, go, constant hustle mindset. and not listening to my body. That's the main, point of the story, is not listening to my body, just trying to keep going and keep up with everyone else. And eventually I ended up with broken heart syndrome, which is a condition you can get from trauma or extreme stress to the body. And after that episode and that heart condition, it was my first taste of functional medicine. And
Uh-huh.
that's actually when I learned about SIBO. I had never heard about it before. I was always just told, oh,
Either.
you have IBS, right? And IBS is such a lame excuse for a diagnosis because it's just a catch-all when they don't really know what's going on with your gut. And so, yeah, I rebel against that too. But SIBO actually is very common root cause for IBS symptoms, by the way. But that was my first taste of functional medicine and learning about SIBO. I ended up becoming a health coach out of that, out of my desire to want to help other people, not be
Gotcha.
laying in bed, not me missing their kids' soccer games, not, having brain fog and not be able to concentrate on your conversation with your client. All of these things really drove me forward. And I put myself through functional medicine school, and SIBO became my passion and my focus, especially once word got out that I had overcome SIBO myself and I was helping my clients do it as well. So I decided to rebrand, and here I am with the SIBO Coach.
Okay. That really helps me. It really does. And I'm glad that you shared the journey because I love to know the root of it and the passion of it.
Yeah,
And you're living, breathing, and eating it. So,
exactly.
yeah, I would like to know because I've never heard of SIBO. Not that I don't have stuff, but mine comes in different areas like than my stomach. Mine's like my neck. Like, everyone has their thing.
Yes.
And mine, I can go, no, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Fine. But I know
Yes.
signal. I didn't know, but I know now. So tell us what SIBO is for those who don't know.
Yeah, so SIBO is SIBO. It stands for small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. So essentially what it is we know in our gut microbiome, we have a variety of bacteria,
Okay.
fungi, parasites, viruses, all sorts of things coexisting happily. And usually that's happening more concentrated in the large bowel. And that's normal. That's where we're fermenting and breaking down foods and creating, the waste, and then it gets excreted. Well, the issue becomes when some of those bacteria may be getting overgrown in the small intestine. And not that the small intestine is sterile in itself, but we don't want overgrowths and imbalances in there for sure, because our small intestine is where we like to process our nutrients. And that's where we're absorbing through that intestinal wall in the small intestine into the bloodstream and into the cells, where we get access to those key nutrients. And if we have an overgrowth or an imbalance in that microbiome, it causes inflammation, leaky gut, leads to autoimmunity, all kinds of other crazy things in the body. Some people will be like, I just have this like random twitch in my eye and I can't get it to go away. Well, guess what? It might be something going on in your gut. It's time to investigate, right? So that's really the
No
lens.
way.
Yeah, that's really the lens that I'm looking at with my clients.
Well, now I have a whole nother perspective.
Yes, and people don't really think about it that way, right? Like, oh, I keep getting this pain in my knee for some reason. Well, let's look in the gut. There may be some, reason why you're having this chronic inflammation. Everything really stems from there. So that's kind
Right.
of my focus and practice. Yeah.
So I really can see why somebody who's having any type of issue would want to come see you, right? I get it. But you also mentioned that you don't want to give away your intuition, right? It's an and. And I love the way you say before you Google search. I get freaked out about what you might have. Your body knows and follow that first, right?
Yes. Stop outsourcing your intuition. Yep.
Yeah. So I want to go with that. And also, I'm a big component because for years I was a stubborn person in seeking guidance. And I think it's an and. Like I was always about, okay, intuition, but at some point too, for me, it's really good for me to have someone looking in, that's not me
Yes. Yes.
and not so
Yeah,
attached to my stuff.
that is such a good point. And this is how we need to reframe it, right?
Okay.
So you are a unique individual. No one else is like you. No one else has your DNA. No one else has your microbiome. No one else has been exposed to the same things in your environment or the same conversations you've had with family growing up or the stories that you have going on in your brain, right? No one else is like you. You have an innate power in your body that you were born with that understands how to heal itself. It's the programming in your DNA. In every organ, every muscle tissue, it has this programming so that you know how to heal yourself. So I like to say, like we said at the top of the hour, right? Making sure that we understand how to hear and listen to our body's symptoms and our intuition. So that's a gut feeling, it's a heart feeling. And I don't, say to people, don't go to your doctor and try to get some testing. I never say that, right? We do often need to have some sort of professional who's trained in, a specific specialty or something to help us look outside of the box, to see us from a different perspective. But whatever that practitioner may be saying to you, have a gut check about it. Does that feel right? Is that something I need to do? Is that something I need to explore more? Or does that totally not fit me? And no, this person does not know what I'm understand what I'm talking about. I don't fully
Now
understand. Yeah.
that's perfect. I always say, don't give away your power. It's an
Yes.
and. Take it in.
Yes.
Is it right for you? And I feel the need. It's not about the gut, but it's the same thing. So it was back in 2019, and I am stubborn. I did tell you that at the top of the. I fell off my mountain bike about a billion times. All right. Always on my left side, whatever. And I
Mhm.
just kept ignoring it. You know what I mean? Lifting it, whatever. And finally, the tension got so tight, sieged up. I couldn't move. I couldn't walk. I couldn't, like, it was like peeing all around my brain. Right. And my
Yeah.
mentor says to me, "Oh, I'm so glad this happened to you." I'm like, "I'm going to kill you if you didn't live in Florida." But it was because he felt it was a way for me to listen to my body. And there was stuff going on for me that I needed to release that was stored in my body, like anger, whatever, frustration, whatever, that needed to come out. And it had to take me down on my knees to get it. But the point was, when I went to the doctors and they did all these tests, MRIs, blah, 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 they couldn't find anything. Or they were trying to
Mhm.
give me pills that I wouldn't want to take, and it
Yeah.
just wasn't right for me. And I was like, no, I'm not taking that. And finally, I found an osteopath who was more like me, more homeopathic, and took me down a different path that fit me. But I do remember what you said at one point, and this was going on for months, like for 6 months. No one could figure out, but I think it was a purpose because I had other stuff to work on while I was coming to the answer. But I hadn't gone to doctors in like 20 something, like I had no idea. So I didn't know what people were going through. And they would say, do this to this. And if you didn't, it's like, well, you're not listening. I'm like, that doesn't seem right. I don't want to take all that drugs. And then I'm like, I kept searching and I found the right person for me. But before that, I remember going to like a neurosurgeon. I'm like, you don't understand the pain. And he looked at my husband and goes, has she considered going to a therapist? Like, I go, no, I'm all for it, but I'm telling you, something is going on.
Yeah.
And from that, my husband's like, yeah, I don't think so. And when you know it, somebody found a physical therapist. They're like, when nobody else knows the answer. And this had to be like, now we're talking 7 months in. And Jen, she looked at me, looked at the charts. And this is after going to orthopods, neuroscience, you talk it.
I
And
get it. I get
yeah.
it.
And she looked at me, she goes, are you kidding me? You have two little spurs and C2, C3. They're pressing on that trifecta nerve. Wherever they press, the nerves go right around your head. So sometimes it's going to go to ear. Da, da, da. She's like, give me a month, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Medicine.
I love that.
And I was like, You know what I mean? Not that I don't get it now, but I know what to do and I know what it was. But imagine all those months thinking, what the heck? And then trying to feel like you're crazy and like, just doesn't feel right for me. I'm not glad I had that experience, but I'm glad I had that experience.
Yes. And so
And
much
it's
to
just the
unpack
same
there.
thing. I mean, I know it, but it's not about the gut, but it's the same thing because even family and friends who love me were like, just listen to the doctor, take that medicine. You're hurting your family. Like, that's addictive medicine. I don't take those strong drugs. Until I found an osteopath who took me down this path and then said, I have a physical therapist for you.
Yes.
And he
Yes.
knew that I connected more and how I was about the body. But everyone else was like mad at me because I
Yes.
didn't take that path. And I didn't want to take away from what you're doing, but I feel it's so important because I feel like that's what you were telling me at the beginning. The same thing when you're saying here, like, don't let just because they're the top in their, neurosurgery, but don't discount them. But like, if it doesn't feel right, don't give away your intuition.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
done.
Oh, if you don't mind, I want to take a few minutes just to reflect back some of the things you said. First of all, I would just want to give you huge props for going to an osteopath because I'm actually seeing one myself after having two TBIs in the span of like 14 months. I had a really traumatic fall and I was also hit by a drunk driver. That
Mm,
rocked my world. And like you said, um, oh, how did you put it? Obviously you wouldn't have wished that on someone. That's excruciating pain, right? And that whole journey of trying to find someone who can listen to you and help you. But similarly, I went through these experiences. I kind of think it was like the universe, like, Jen, you just need to freaking slow down. And that's
yeah,
why I'm going to make you fall down and hit your head.
yeah,
Um, but I'm so grateful for that because that really galvanized, those experiences really galvanized for me the importance of listening to our body and really honoring, like, okay, today, what do I need today and how can I get it? Those are the two questions I ask myself every morning when I get up in the morning. What do I need today and how can I get it? Today, my body feels like I need a little extra rest. Today, I have more energy. I'm going to go for a longer walk. Um,
I
Today, I
like.
really need to talk to a friend, you know, and then taking action and honoring those things and not ignoring them.
Mm,
I think that's just really important. And like you said, obviously, I'm sorry that you had to have that experience. I've also had neck and head issues and the
yeah,
whole cranial system up there out of whack. Yeah. And
yeah,
so I can appreciate how painful and how much suffering you must have experienced from that. And just understanding the energetic toll that something like that takes, whether it's digestive or your neck or something else going on in your body, it's so draining and it changes your personality. You forget to do the things that you used to love. You make excuses, you're not connected, you're isolated, and you feel unseen. And it can really take a toll on your mental health. So I just want to give you a virtual hug for being your own best advocate and really finding the thing that
yeah,
was going to work for you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Jen, like I said, this could be a few-hour podcast, but I knew that. I knew that going into it, but I want to make sure we get to just some of the basic questions that my listeners wanted to ask you.
Sure.
I definitely would love to have you come back for a longer podcast, but we'll get as much in as we can now. Just go a little bit over. So, as far as the gut, the questions I kept getting over and over and over again is is it an individual thing that some people can eat this, some people can't, or are there things in general that everyone should stay away from? So let's start with the first one. Are there things in general that everyone should stay away from, no matter who you are?
Well, I never want to say this in a black and white type of way
Okay.
because everyone is highly individual. But in my practice, dealing with gut issues and inflammatory states in the body, whatever that looks like for somebody, I will typically say, let's have a time period without gluten and dairy because they tend to be highly inflammatory. And we know that even if you aren't quote unquote celiac, You
Yeah.
may be gluten sensitive or, in some way, what they call non-gluten sensitivity. It's a pretty difficult protein to digest in general. So if you have some sort of impaired digestion for whatever reason, whether it's SIBO or not, stress or parasites, or maybe you had a surgery or something,
Yeah.
I would recommend that you go for a time without it because it is hard to digest and it can cause damage and things like leaky gut to that intestinal lining. And also dairy, even if you're not lactose intolerant, dairy is one of those things that what we call in traditional Chinese medicine is very damp and produces a lot of mucus in the body and sends a message to your brain that, you've got something going on, that you need to be creating this excess mucus, that you're inflamed, that you're stressed out. So those are two that I commonly will say, hey, let's tap the brakes on those two things for a little while. The second part of your question, diets and all of that. Yes, I use temporary food guidelines, but I never say that they're pass or fail. Like I said, everyone is different. One person can eat a bunch of broccoli and the other person might be able to, might eat that bowl of broccoli and then feel like they're going to blow up and die. So everyone is different. And
Yeah.
that's something that we talk about in depth in my practice of what's going to make the most sense for this period of time. I don't see diets as a long-term fix all, cure all either. I see them as a one tool and a toolbox of things to help you overcome whatever you're dealing with.
So just to repeat, so I got it.
That was a lot of
General.
information.
I just want to make sure because, a lot of times people are listening and doing other things at the same time. In general, if you're having any kind of issues, it's not a bad idea to cut out gluten and dairy.
Yeah.
Okay. In
Yeah.
general.
And
But
also, I just want to say here really quickly, I'm not anyone's practitioner, so this is my disclaimer. This is not medical advice.
not a doctor. Yeah. This is just two people getting together.
Right,
Their own
right.
experiences. Yeah. Uh, and secondly, but it is individual. Like everyone's different.
Yeah.
And so I might be able to eat cauliflower and broccoli and no big deal. Somebody may never be able to eat it.
Yeah. And here, let me just say this really quick as far as looking through the SIBO lens. Cruciferous vegetables, garlic, onions, sugar, alcohols, things like those, very, very common clues if you are reacting to those on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Bloating, gas, diarrhea, constipation, brain fog, muscle fatigue, muscle pain and fatigue. Those are very common symptoms of something like SIBO going on. So if you find that you're in that boat where you're like, oh my gosh, I can never eat these foods anymore, you might need to do some more investigating.
I have a friend, now it's coming back to me. I was like, I never heard of it, but that's not true. I have a friend, she was having all these issues, couldn't figure it out. And then she discovered she had SIBO and she cut these things out. Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's
But
unbelievable.
like I said before, that is not the fix-all or a cure. It's a temporary way to get some relief from some of the symptoms, but it's not addressing the root cause. So you need to keep digging deeper. I've had people come to me after years of being on what we call the low FODMAP diet, avoiding those trigger foods for SIBO. Yeah, and for years and years, and they come to me and they're highly depleted. We need to have those, nutrients, especially as women. We need cruciferous vegetables. It's going to help us detox excess estrogen, et cetera, et cetera. Like I said, I could talk about this all day long.
Which is good. You're passionate about it. But I love the fact too that in some of the other tips, which we're not going to have time to dive deep today, but you mentioned ditch protocol perfection. No, ditch protocol perfectionism.
Yep.
And that's a big part of it.
Oh, it's huge. And especially as like if you find yourself as sort of a compulsive, obsessive type person or an anxious person or a type A perfectionist person, and you need to overcome some sort of chronic condition, we tend to be like in this tunnel vision and we're
Mhm.
like, oh my gosh, we have to take this supplement at this exact time and I cannot eat that food. I might die, or, and we get so caught up in here in our brain about what is the pass, the A grade compared to the thing that would still be effective, more, accommodating to your particular body or the circumstance that you're in that day or whatever. And I have found over the years of having my practice, having this conversation with people, because like I said, well, I don't know if we were recording then, but I listened to your podcast from Sharka recently about overcoming perfectionism. This is something that I've had to deal with and understand for myself. And now I can reflect it back and show it to my clients, teach them, guide them, inspire them to let go of some of that.
Yeah.
I find that constant anxiety and that perfectionism in the protocol of what we're doing together just drives more anxiety, which drives more gut symptoms. So yeah, ditch it.
I'm all about that.
Yeah,
I'm all about that. Yeah, that's one thing I do have going for me. I am not a perfectionist. Oh,
excellent.
I mean, there's other things to work on, but I'll go in head first and then go, I'll figure it out. So like your last thing, don't wait till you feel ready. Absolutely.
Hmm. Yeah, don't wait around. I mean, we're always going to be moving forward. Sometimes it's one step forward, two steps back, but keep your focus moving forward. We always say this in functional medicine, a healing journey is never linear.
Mm.
Embrace your rebelliousness, right? Listen to what your soul is trying to tell you and start anyway. There's always going to be things coming up, especially if you have a chronic condition. There's always going to be excuses and reasons. Yes,
Yeah.
there are times when you need to have a rest. You need to pause for a little while.
Yeah.
But then once you've regathered yourself, propel again, keep going. And working with entrepreneurs and sort of high achieving women in my practice and being one myself, that is the gold. We're always going to be those type of people that have like a vision or a goal that we want to pursue. That's just like,
Yeah.
our personality and our character. But understanding the ebb and flow of that energy and taking action from a place that feels stable and grounded and understanding where you're at in your body on that day, and then making a decision and moving forward. Um, and
Mhm.
don't wait because you're never going to be ready. You just got to do it.
I agree. I agree. Okay, I got to get this last question in because I got so many of it.
Yeah,
And again, it could be a whole show, but just if we could just,
I'll try to keep it brief. Go ahead.
no, no. They wanted to know about what your feelings were on all the supplements for this are. So, like some people take tons of them, some people take nothing. Some people say, they got tested just for what they need. Other people
Mhm.
say it's expensive pee. In general, what's your opinion?
Oh my gosh, that is such a loaded question.
I
Okay, let me
know, I
focus. Let me
know,
focus. Okay.
I know. And I left it to the end, but I'm like, okay, should I wrap up? Should I wrap up? But no, the two questions I got were,
Yeah. Okay, so I'll try to boil this down really quickly. One, if you have some sort of ongoing simmering gut infection, whether that's SIBO or parasites or virus, whatever, candida, you likely have some key nutrient deficiencies or insufficiencies. So there is a period of time while you're quote unquote self-healing that supplementation may be helpful and part of a well-rounded, comprehensive plan or strategy, right? It's going to include other things too, like, physical activity and sleep and all of those things. So I would say temporarily, yes, supplementation may help. I will also say that some people will go to a practitioner, they get put on a handful of things that are taking up real estate on their counter,
yeah,
and then
yeah.
they don't get any direction on how long they're supposed to take that. So then they're taking it for 10 years and they didn't even really need to be doing that. So be mindful of like, what's the timing of this supplement? How long do I need to take it? And third, I will just say really quickly, yes, there are some tests where you can do micronutrient testing. We'll test the intracellular levels of certain nutrients, and this can be very helpful for people who are kind of on the other side of overcoming something chronic, who want to just know basically what do I need to take right now to support my body now that I'm on the other side of this protocol or this strategy. and be very specific and targeted about it instead of spending $1 million on things that you don't need. So I hope that helped. Yeah.
Yes, it does. And at least I feel my listeners and my viewers will say she got the two most important questions out. Sometimes I'm like, I didn't get any. Jen, thank you so much for being on the show.
It's been my pleasure.
So before we go, is there anything that we didn't get in that you're like, Sandy, I want to end with this?
Well, we did touch on it. And basically, that is you are always going to be your own best advocate. Listen to your intuition. Check in with yourself. Does this sound true to me? Does this feel true? Is this my truth? Or is this a story I'm making up or something else that someone else is putting on top of me? Really take the moment to pause and then propel from that place.
I like that. Now, the most important thing, how can they find you?
Yeah, so the best way to find me is my website. It's www.thesibocoach.com. And that's basically my hub. You can learn more about me and my journey, my programs. I have some freebies on there, all kinds of goodness. So go check that out.
Come on, people. You got to check Jen out. And we really, really appreciate it if you share, liked, rated it. Subscribe. I keep forgetting to tell people subscribe. There has to be at least one person that you know could benefit from this podcast and using Jen. And until next time, you know what I'm going to say. Toodles. Bye, Jen.
Bye.
Thank you.